CenaX stepped off the transport shuttle onto the bustling space station. Lights blinked in a rhythm that matched the hum of the station engines. Aliens of every shape and size moved along the corridors, their voices mixing in a strange but musical language. Humans were rare here, and CenaX knew he would attract attention. He didn't mind. He had a mission: deliver supplies and gather information about a few alien factions that rarely interacted with humans. As he walked through the main market, CenaX's eyes scanned everything. Stalls sold glowing crystals, strange mechanical devices, and foods that smelled unusual but oddly tempting. He was careful to keep his human-sized frame out of the way, but some creatures stopped and stared. Some whispered to each other, pointing at him. CenaX smiled politely, knowing that humans often drew curiosity wherever they went. He was so absorbed in observing the market that he almost didn't notice her. She was struggling to carry a large container of equipment, its weight far too much for her small frame. CenaX instinctively stepped forward. "Need a hand?" he asked in the universal trade language. The alien girl looked up, startled. Her skin was pale blue, and her eyes shimmered like silver in the market lights. She had long flowing hair that caught the neon glows of the stalls. She shook her head, refusing help, but her arms trembled under the weight. CenaX realized she couldn't manage alone. Without thinking much, he leaned slightly forward and whispered to himself, "She's lovely. That was a mistake." The moment the words left his lips, the girl suddenly stood right behind him. CenaX froze, realizing too late that she had heard every word. Her silver eyes widened in surprise, and for a heartbeat, the bustling market seemed to disappear. I didn't mean..." CenaX started, but she raised a hand to stop him. "I heard you," she said softly, her voice gentle but steady. "And you are human?" CenaX nodded, embarrassed but trying to stay calm. "Yes, CenaX. I meant only that you seem skilled." He paused, realizing that sounded even more awkward than his original words. "Strong, I mean, not anything else." The girl tilted her head, a small smile forming. "Lyra," she said, introducing herself. "And you? You are not afraid to speak in whispers that reach others." CenaX chuckled nervously. "Humans often speak without thinking. It gets us into trouble sometimes." Lyra laughed quietly, the sound like soft wind through metal pipes. She adjusted the container she was holding and then looked at CenaX. "Perhaps we can help each other. You are human, and I am struggling with this load." CenaX extended his hands. "Let's make it easier." Together, they carried the container to her destination. CenaX noticed how agile she was despite her small size, moving quickly and efficiently through the crowded market. He realized she was not just another alien girl. She was clever and capable, even if she appeared fragile at first glance. As they moved, CenaX observed the way other aliens watched them. Some whispered to each other, clearly surprised by a human and a small alien girl working together so easily. He felt a small surge of pride. Humans were underestimated in many parts of the galaxy. Often, other species assumed humans were weak or foolish. CenaX enjoyed proving them wrong in subtle ways. When they reached Lyra's destination, a workshop filled with strange machines, she carefully set down the container. "Thank you," she said. Her silver eyes met his, and for a moment CenaX felt an unusual connection. It wasn't romance, not exactly. It was curiosity and respect, two things humans often earned through action rather than appearance. "You're welcome," CenaX replied. "I've been around strange machines before. This doesn't look too complicated." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "You say that, but many cannot even understand the simplest of these devices. Humans are different, aren't they?" CenaX shrugged. "We try. We learn quickly and we don't give up easily. That seems to surprise a lot of species." Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Perhaps you are right. I have not seen a human in my life until now." "You adapt quickly." CenaX smiled. "It's what we do." Adaptation is human nature, I suppose. Lyra's expression softened. Then perhaps you can help me again. The workshop is complicated, and I cannot do everything alone. CenaX's curiosity was piqued. Helping her might give him insight into the local politics, the rival factions, and the kinds of technology the station used. I'd be glad to, he said. Show me what needs to be done. As they worked side by side, CenaX found himself noticing more about Lyra. Her intelligence was apparent in how she handled machines, how she planned her movements, and even in the way she anticipated problems before they happened. She wasn't just strong or clever. She had a kind of quiet confidence that CenaX respected deeply. Around them, the market continued to buzz, aliens moving through corridors, carrying goods, exchanging ideas, and eyeing CenaX curiously. Yet, in this small corner of the station, it felt like the world had slowed. CenaX and Lyra were focused entirely on the task, learning from each other and forming a bond through action rather than words. By the time they finished, the container was in place, and the workshop was tidy. Lyra stepped back, her silver eyes meeting CenaX's again. You are different from what I expected. Most humans I hear about are brash. You think before you act, yet you move without fear. CenaX laughed softly. Most humans are brash. I just try to be clever instead. Lyra smiled, a real, honest smile. Perhaps we will meet again, human. You are welcome here anytime. CenaX nodded, feeling a small spark of pride. Humans were often underestimated, yes, but moments like this reminded him that courage, intelligence, and respect could speak louder than appearances. As he walked away, blending back into the crowd, he thought about how unpredictable the galaxy was. A simple whisper had led to a meeting with someone extraordinary. CenaX realized this was only the beginning. Lyra had shown him that humans could earn respect in places where they were rare, and maybe even change the way others saw them entirely. The market lights flickered as he disappeared into the crowd, already curious about what his next encounter with Lyra might bring. The next day, CenaX returned to the bustling space station. His mind kept drifting to Lyra and the workshop they had organized together. He had not expected to meet anyone like her, and yet, her intelligence and courage had impressed him. Humans were known for their adaptability, but even he had been surprised by how easily she navigated the busy station. As he walked through the corridors, he noticed unusual activity near one of the older power conduits of the station. Sparks flickered from a malfunctioning terminal, and small fires had begun to flare up. CenaX rushed closer, instinctively analyzing the problem. Lyra appeared suddenly at his side, her eyes wide but determined. The system is failing. If it goes completely offline, large parts of the station could be damaged. I cannot stop it alone. CenaX nodded. Show me what you've done so far. She led him to the control panel, pointing to circuits she had already rerouted. I have stabilized some lines, but the main core is overloaded. We need to redistribute energy before it explodes. CenaX crouched, examining the panel carefully. He noticed small details she had missed, gaps in her connections, and opportunities for temporary fixes. We can reroute the energy through these auxiliary conduits, he suggested. It will hold long enough for a full repair. Lyra glanced at him, a flicker of surprise in her silver eyes. You think quickly. Most would panic in a situation like this. CenaX shrugged. Humans panic sometimes, but we adapt, especially when others depend on us. Together, they began working. CenaX adjusted circuits and rewired conduits, while Lyra handled the delicate calibration of the system. Sparks flew and heat surged through the machinery, but neither of them stopped. They moved in rhythm, learning from each other's methods, combining human improvisation with alien precision. As they worked, CenaX noticed the station's regular inhabitants watching. Aliens who had once ignored humans now whispered among themselves, clearly impressed by his ability to manage the crisis. Humans were underestimated, often dismissed as weak or clumsy, but here, CenaX proved otherwise. The tension built as the main core began to stabilize. CenaX realized that the rival faction rumored to be near the station could try to exploit this moment. He glanced at Lyra, who was sweating from the effort, but focused. "We must finish this quickly," he said. Lyra nodded. "Follow my lead. I will adjust the energy flow while you monitor the pressure." It was a risky combination, but it worked. Together they managed to redirect the energy safely, preventing the station from a catastrophic failure. The terminal screens returned to normal, and the small fires died down. Lyra let out a relieved sigh. "I have never seen anyone handle this so calmly. You are remarkable." CenaX smiled. "I just pay attention. Humans notice details that others sometimes overlook. It helps us survive." For a moment, they simply stood there, taking in the success. Then Lyra's expression grew serious. "Not everyone here will see this as positive. Some will think you are meddling or interfering. The rival faction, they may see this as a challenge." CenaX's jaw tightened. "I am aware, but I cannot ignore a problem when I see it. Humans do not wait for permission to help." Lyra studied him carefully. "You have a way of making others trust you, even without trying. I feel safer with you here." CenaX felt a small pang of pride. Humans often earned respect through actions, not words, but it was rare to hear someone admit it so openly. The station had barely returned to its usual rhythm when alarms blared throughout the corridors. CenaX was in the observation deck, reviewing maintenance logs, when he heard the warning. Red lights flashed, and a low hum of the emergency system vibrated through the metal floors. Lyra appeared almost instantly, her silver eyes wide with concern. "It is them," she said quietly. "The rival faction. They are attacking the station. They may want to take control of the docking bays." CenaX's jaw tightened. He had expected challenges, but this was the first time he had faced a direct threat in the station itself. "Stay calm," he said, more to reassure himself than her. "We will handle this." Lyra glanced at him skeptically. "Handle it? Humans are small, fragile compared to their ships and weapons." CenaX smiled slightly. "That is what they think, and thinking gives us the advantage." They moved quickly to the main control room. Holographic displays flickered, showing small enemy ships approaching the station at high speed. Other aliens were panicking, running in all directions, unsure how to respond. CenaX's eyes scanned the situation. The ships were fast but lightly armored. With careful placement and clever traps, even a few humans, or a single human, could delay or even stop them. "We need to use the station itself," CenaX explained to Lyra. "We will guide drones, redirect energy fields, and create decoys. They will expect a direct attack, not clever strategy." Lyra studied him, her silver eyes reflecting both doubt and curiosity. "You plan to fight using machines and cunning instead of brute force?" CenaX nodded. "Exactly. Humans are good at turning disadvantages into advantages." They moved through the corridors, setting up control points. CenaX instructed Lyra on the drones, explaining how to make them appear more numerous than they really were. They placed holographic projections in strategic locations, making the enemy believe the station had more defenses than it actually did. CenaX's mind worked quickly, analyzing patterns of the attacking ships and predicting their moves before they happened. The first wave of enemy ships arrived, firing energy blasts at the docking bay. Aliens scattered, hiding behind structures, expecting devastation. CenaX, however, calmly monitored the drones and holograms. A blast hit a decoy, exploding harmlessly, while a real drone swooped in to disable the enemy ship's engines. Lyra watched in amazement as what seemed like a hopeless situation was quietly turned around. "Humans," Lyra whispered almost in disbelief. "You think differently. You are not just strong. You anticipate, adapt, and act before others notice." CenaX smiled without taking his eyes off the displays. "We call it strategy. Observation and quick thinking. It often surprises those who rely only on strength." The next wave of enemy ships tried a different approach, attempting to flank the station. CenaX adjusted the energy shields, rerouted power to critical points, and guided drones to block the flanking path. Each move was precise, calculated, and unexpected. The aliens around him began to whisper in awe. Humans were capable of feats they had not imagined. Lyra moved closer, helping him operate controls and reroute energy flows. She realized that while humans might seem small or fragile, their creativity and fearlessness in danger made them uniquely powerful. CenaX remained calm, his mind working through every possibility. He used limited resources to create traps, leading enemy ships into corridors where automated defenses could disable them. Within minutes, the first attack had been repelled. Enemy ships retreated, surprised by the unexpected resistance. Aliens in the control room murmured their astonishment. A human had successfully defended a major section of the station without relying on brute force or overwhelming numbers. Lyra turned to CenaX, eyes wide. "I cannot believe this. You have changed my view of humans entirely. You are remarkable." CenaX shrugged, though a small smile played on his lips. "It is nothing extraordinary. Humans often find ways to survive. Sometimes it just looks impressive to others." Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You are clever, brave, and quick. Not many species could have done what you did today." CenaX glanced around the control room. Aliens were starting to recover from their panic. The rival faction had not expected such resistance and was now regrouping. CenaX knew they would return, but he was ready. He had proven something important. Humans were not weak. They were underestimated, yes, but their advantage lay in their creativity, adaptability, and courage. Lyra leaned closer to him. "You are different from what I imagined. I thought humans were fragile, unprepared for danger. You show me we have misjudged you entirely." CenaX nodded. "That is often the case. Humans survive by thinking ahead, observing details, and improvising. We do not give up easily. That is why we endure." The rival faction ships slowly withdrew, their retreat signaling temporary victory. CenaX allowed himself a brief sigh of relief. "It is not over," he said. "They will be back. But now at least they know humans are not to be underestimated." Lyra smiled faintly. "And I know that I can rely on you. Humans, you are remarkable." CenaX looked at her and nodded. "And I can rely on you, Lyra. You are clever, fast, and brave. Together we can handle much more than I imagined." For a moment, they stood side by side overlooking the docking bay from the observation deck. The enemy ships were retreating, and the station's lights returned to normal. But CenaX and Lyra both knew that the galaxy was full of dangers, and the rival faction would not give up so easily. "What happens next?" Lyra asked quietly, still catching her breath from the battle. CenaX's eyes scanned the horizon of the docking bay. "We prepare. Humans do not wait for danger to come again. We learn, adapt, and plan. Next time, we will be ready sooner." Lyra nodded, a newfound respect and trust in her gaze. "Then I hope we face the next challenge together." CenaX smiled, feeling the first true sense of partnership. Humans had shown their advantage once again, not in brute force, but in courage, ingenuity, and the ability to act where others could only react. As the station slowly returned to normal, CenaX and Lyra began discussing strategies, upgrades, and improvements. It was clear that humans had something unique, something that other species had underestimated, the power to think, adapt, and act under pressure. And in that moment, CenaX knew the galaxy would soon learn what humans were truly capable of. The calm after the attack did not last long. CenaX was in the control room reviewing the station's systems when Lyra approached him quietly. Her silver eyes held a hint of worry, a shadow that had not been there before. "There is something you must know," she said, her voice low. "I carry a device. It contains information that could endanger my planet if it falls into the wrong hands. The rival faction wants it, and they will not stop at attacking the station." CenaX studied her carefully. "A device? Why didn't you tell anyone before?" Lyra shook her head. It is too dangerous. If they knew I had it, they would have tried to take me immediately. I have been careful, but now, I need help. CenaX nodded slowly. Humans often faced impossible situations, and they relied on observation, clever thinking, and courage to survive. He realized that Lyra's device made the rival faction far more dangerous than he had first imagined. Then we must move carefully. You will not face this alone. Lyra glanced at him, uncertainty in her expression. Are you certain? Humans are fragile. You could be hurt. CenaX smiled faintly. We adapt. That is what humans do. And besides, I am here. You are not facing this alone. Together, they retreated to a secure section of the station, a place few aliens dared to enter. Lyra placed the device on a reinforced table and opened its protective casing. Holographic images and data streams flickered above it, revealing complex maps and coded communications. CenaX examined the data, his human mind quickly analyzing patterns and spotting weaknesses in the rival faction's plans. This is serious, CenaX said quietly. They know far more than I imagined, and this device could give them an advantage we cannot ignore. Lyra nodded. That is why I must return it to my home planet. If I stay here, the rival faction will keep hunting me. I cannot allow them to capture this information. CenaX's mind worked quickly. Humans were known for improvisation, and he could see several possible solutions. We will get it back safely, but it will require planning, and you must trust me. Lyra studied him carefully. I trust you, but I do not know if anyone else can survive what you plan. CenaX smiled faintly. Humans often survive what others cannot, not because we are stronger, but because we think differently. We notice what others miss. We act where others hesitate. Lyra nodded, beginning to see the truth in his words. Humans had faced dangers across their homeworld and beyond, using intelligence and courage to overcome impossible odds. CenaX had already proven that human skill and ingenuity could defend an entire station. Now she realized he could help her complete this mission. The next few hours were spent in careful preparation. CenaX analyzed the station's patrol routes, calculated energy flows, and devised a plan to move Lyra and her device without alerting the rival faction. Lyra assisted, adjusting data streams and creating false signals to hide their movements. You humans are clever, Lyra said quietly. I have never seen anyone plan so many steps ahead. Most species react without thinking, but you act before the danger arrives. CenaX shrugged. We try. It is not perfect, but it works more often than not. As they finished preparation alert, the small spacecraft glided silently through space, its engines barely making a sound. CenaX piloted it carefully, his hands steady on the controls. Lyra sat beside him, her silver eyes scanning the stars and the small holographic map of the rival faction's patrols. Their ships are fast, Lyra said quietly. They will find us if we make a mistake. CenaX nodded. I know. That is why we move slowly and carefully. But humans have a way of turning disadvantages into advantages. Lyra raised an eyebrow. I do not understand. You are human, yet you seem fearless in situations that would terrify others. CenaX smiled faintly. We do not rely on fear. We rely on thinking, observation, and courage. That combination often surprises those who underestimate us. As they approached the outer rim of the system, the enemy patrols appeared on the sensors. Small agile ships moved quickly, scanning for intruders. Lyra tensed, clutching her seat. CenaX, however, remained calm. His mind worked through the possibilities, calculating every move before it happened. They will try to intercept us here, CenaX said. We need to create a diversion. Follow my instructions exactly. Lyra nodded, trusting him completely. Humans had proven themselves capable of extraordinary feats, and CenaX had already shown her that ingenuity and courage could overcome even impossible odds. CenaX adjusted the ship's energy output, sending false signals into space. Holographic decoys projected multiple ships ahead of them, confusing the enemy sensors. The patrols moved toward the false ships, leaving the real spacecraft undetected. Lyra watched in amazement as what seemed impossible unfolded perfectly. "Humans," she whispered. "You do not only act bravely, but you also think in ways others cannot imagine. You adapt faster than any other species I know." CenaX glanced at her. "That is what humans do. We notice what others miss. We find solutions where others see only problems." They continued through the patrol zone, moving swiftly but cautiously. Suddenly, a fast enemy ship broke through the decoys and aimed directly for them. Lyra's heart raced. "They have found us." CenaX remained calm. "Not yet. We have one advantage. They expect fear. We will use it against them." He quickly recalibrated the ship's thrusters, creating sudden bursts of speed that sent the enemy ship spinning past them. Lyra gasped. "I have never seen such skill. You make the impossible look simple." CenaX smiled faintly. "We humans have a way of turning danger into opportunity. It is not magic. It is careful observation and quick thinking." As they neared Lyra's home system, more enemy ships appeared, attempting to block their path. CenaX analyzed their formations and noticed patterns in their movements. "They always follow the same sequence," he explained. "We can predict their next moves." Lyra nodded, helping him adjust the ship's shields and energy flows. Together, they guided the craft through the traps, avoiding enemy fire with precision. CenaX's human intuition proved invaluable, allowing them to stay one step ahead of danger at every turn. Finally, they reached the planet's orbit. Lyra's people were waiting below, unaware of the full danger that had followed her. CenaX carefully navigated the ship down to a secure landing area, avoiding patrols and automated defenses. When the spacecraft touched the ground, Lyra quickly removed the device from its protective chamber. She held it close, relief flooding her features. "We made it," she whispered. "Thanks to you, CenaX. I cannot imagine what would have happened without your help." CenaX shook his head. "Humans do not do what is easy. We do what must be done. And sometimes helping others is the most important thing we can do." Lyra looked at him with admiration. "You are not like anyone I have ever met. Brave, clever, and caring. Humans. I have underestimated you. You are extraordinary." CenaX smiled. "We often surprise others. That is part of being human, and we do not give up easily, no matter the odds." The rival faction's ships appeared briefly on the planet's horizon, but they hesitated when they saw the coordinated defenses and the small but clever tactics Lyra and CenaX had used. CenaX's human ingenuity had turned what seemed like certain capture into an unexpected victory. Lyra turned to him. "You have changed my view of humans completely. Not just strong, but brave, clever, and willing to risk everything for others. You are truly remarkable." CenaX shrugged, though a small smile played on his lips. "Humans survive by thinking, observing, and acting. We do what others will not. That is why we endure." Together they secured the device and handed it over to the leaders of Lyra's people. The information would now be safe, and the rival faction would not be able to use it against her planet. Lyra's people were grateful, but Lyra herself looked at CenaX with something deeper than gratitude: respect, trust, and admiration. "Perhaps," Lyra said softly, "humans are not just survivors. You are heroes in your own way. You act where others hesitate. You think where others fail, and you never give up." CenaX smiled. "That is what humans do. We may be underestimated, but we find ways to succeed when others think it is impossible." As the sun set over Lyra's home planet, casting long shadows across the landscape, she realized that this human, small, seemingly fragile, but fearless and clever, had changed her life. Humans were rare in this galaxy, often underestimated, but CenaX had proven why they should never be ignored. And for CenaX, this mission had shown that humans' true strength lay not in numbers or brute force, but in courage, ingenuity, and the ability to face impossible odds and still prevail. Lyra smiled at him, a mixture of relief and admiration in her eyes. I hope we can work together again, human. You have shown me that there is more to your species than anyone could imagine. CenaX nodded, feeling a sense of quiet pride. Humans were rare in this part of space, but when they acted, they left a mark that no one could forget. Together, they had faced impossible odds, outsmarted a powerful enemy, and protected something far greater than themselves. And CenaX knew that the galaxy would soon learn what humans were truly capable of. The station had settled into a calm that felt almost unreal after the chaos of the attacks and the daring escape. CenaX and Lyra returned briefly to ensure the safety of her people's device and to report on the rival factions' movements. The corridors, once bustling with panic, now hummed quietly with activity as aliens whispered about the events that had unfolded. Lyra walked beside CenaX, her silver eyes reflecting both gratitude and wonder. I still cannot believe what you did, CenaX, she said quietly. You protected the station, guided me safely, and outsmarted the rival faction. I have never seen anyone like you. CenaX shook his head with a small smile. I only did what humans do best. We notice, we adapt, and we act. That is how we survive in places others fear to enter. But I could not have done it without you. Your intelligence and skill made all the difference. Lyra paused, considering his words. Perhaps that is why humans are special. Not only strength, but the mind, the courage, the willingness to act when others hesitate. I see it now. CenaX nodded. Yes. Humans are underestimated often. Many assume we are fragile or weak, but what they do not see is our ability to think ahead, to improvise, and to face danger without losing focus. That is our true strength. As they walked through the main hall, several aliens approached them cautiously. Some were station officials, while others were traders who had observed CenaX's earlier defense efforts. Whispers filled the hall, words of admiration and disbelief at what a human had accomplished. CenaX noticed the subtle nods and respectful gestures. In a place where humans were rare, he had earned recognition. One of the station leaders, an elder alien with golden-hued skin and long, delicate limbs, stepped forward. Human, he said, his voice deep and deliberate. We have watched your actions. Your courage and cleverness saved this station. You have proven that your kind is capable of far more than we imagined. CenaX bowed slightly. Thank you. I only acted as I would for anyone in danger. Humans do not hesitate to help when it is needed. Lyra stepped forward beside him. It is true, she said. I have seen it myself. CenaX's courage and intelligence, they are remarkable. Humans are not to be underestimated. The elder alien studied CenaX for a long moment, then nodded. Indeed, your actions will be remembered. You have changed how we view humans forever. CenaX felt a quiet pride, but said nothing. Humans often acted without seeking recognition. What mattered most was the effect of their actions, the lives saved, the challenges overcome, and the respect earned through deeds rather than words. Later, Lyra and CenaX stood on the observation deck, watching the stars stretch endlessly beyond the station. The sun of a nearby system glimmered across the metallic surfaces, casting reflections that danced like sparks of hope. You have shown me, Lyra said softly, that humans are more than what the stories say. You are clever, brave, and capable of things I never imagined. I will never forget this, CenaX. CenaX smiled faintly. Humans are not perfect. We fail often. But we do not stop trying. That is why we endure, and why we can face almost anything, even when others believe it impossible. Lyra studied him, admiration in her gaze. Perhaps that is what makes humans unique. You survive, you adapt, and you help others. That combination is rare. CenaX nodded. It is, and it is what humans bring to the galaxy. Not just strength, not just numbers, but intelligence, courage, and the ability to act when others hesitate. The station lights shifted as ships began docking and Levy,